good amount of pace to face with the small distance. So these are the certain things, like a few things which sir always implemented, and that helped us a long way.
Vipul, just taking cue from here, uh, does the GCA plan to use a lot of these former cricketers? I mean, obviously some of them were part of the setup, but a lot of even India internationals are now have they are Goa based. Has the GCA ever thought of somehow including them or just conducting camps or something like that? Because you have those minds now available.
See, for example, I would say that Ashish Nehra, he stays here in Goa. He comes here often. And he comes and sometimes he also trains himself. So he goes for fitness. Shajay Jadeja is also here. So he comes with his, I think, so he comes with his son, train here. So I see many of these our players who are there, under 16 or under 19 players, gathering up to him and ask him questions. Also those who are training, I request them to go and discuss things with him because they have a lot of things to share, because they have a lot of experiences when it comes to international cricket. Also, Ashish Nehra ji is the mentor for the Gujarat Titans. So he has also a lot of things to share. And our boys are having that, our boys are a little bit on the shy side. So they might not approach them directly, but we need to push them a little bit and we need to also involve them somehow. These guys are busy because they have a lot of other work also. So whenever possible, we would like to get them on board. We have absorbed a lot of ex-cricketers. For example, Swapnil is there, now Shadab is there, Sagun is there. We plan to also involve people like Hemant sir, who's here, Nitin sir is there. So we plan to involve them in this training, these things, in the net sessions or in the setup of this entire coaching centers, because I feel the contribution of all these coaches who were there previously, just like how Shikha and Swapnil said, it's not appreciated enough because they were someone who had groomed this talent from a younger level, that is under 14. And GCA was always a body who were more involved into selections, not much into grooming. So I think their contributions are not that much appreciated, but definitely we'll be getting them in some manner or the other in GCA so that they can help us and they can groom these talents in future.
What are the vision that the GCA has for the next, like most of the organizations have a five-year plan or something like that. What is a realistic target that the GCA has set for itself? Obviously, the stadium work is, like you said, is underway. If you could take us through what are the plans that you have for the next 2 or 3 years so that the game grows in the state?
So I'll tell you a few things, few of the problems that we have and few of the things that we have planned to solve these things. First of all, Goa is a state where we have monsoons. Now it is almost throughout the year, but mainly it is for the 5 to 6 months. So we have a crunch period before the season starts, and we need to have maximum matches. These days we have started sending teams to places like Jaipur, we sent last year, Delhi, so that they can get practice matches, because in Goa it's always raining during that time. So we plan to have more grounds. We plan to expand the infrastructure that GCA has. We plan to have more grounds, and then we can get, in that crunch period, we can get as many matches as possible. We also, as I said, we also need to nurture the young talent. So we need to have these centers all across Goa. So that is our main aim, but we'll get the results after 6-7 years. So we are focusing on that first. As far as the senior team is concerned, the only thing we can do is provide them good infrastructure, which I think so we have done so far. But also, we plan to send and have camps outside Goa during the off-season in Goa, during the monsoon seasons in Goa, and we are, I think, doing a bit on it. So eventually, it's up to how they perform in the matches. I wouldn't say that they don't have talent, as you said that I want to say that they don't have talent or something like that. Goa has a lot of talent. It's only that these talented people need to go out there, express themselves, and execute whatever they need to do. So I think that matters, and that hunger which I was talking about, it comes into play. Yeah.
And before we throw the floor open and take questions, my one last question to both Shikha and Swapnil. In 2008, when the IPL Razzmatazz happened, you came back, you received, I remember, you returned to a hero's welcome, everybody praising you. How was that, those few months? And Shikha, when you actually broke into the Indian team and you played with Julian Goswami, Mithali Raj, and so many legends of the game, how was that whole first, it's a young cricketer breaking into that big thing? If you could share some experience, and then we'll take questions from the audience.
Yeah, that was a fantastic dream kind of period for me, because I didn't realize it till I came back to Goa after winning the IPL. The kind of response what the people give me, the kind of recognition, everything was fabulous. I had not thought about it. It was something as if I played India and I came back. But then yes, along with that, there was a lot of responsibilities also because I knew now I am a household name. So I had to be careful in doing whatever I do in life. So I just can't walk on the road and do whatever I want to. But yes, it was a fantastic thing because one small incident, what I like to say, when I played IPL, and when initially people thought I am from Sri Lanka, to be honest. They thought someone from Sri Lanka has played this. When they came to know that I'm from Goa, few guys came to me and asked me, Goa has a cricket team? The first question they asked me, I said, yes, they have been playing for a long time, I said. So these are the few things which will happen. But yes, as I said, no, now at that time there was no exposure or anything. But now I feel everybody knows what is in like in a stake if you do well. So the responsibility again, the onus is on the players. Association is doing, as Vipul sir has said, like, now at least the players are getting that exposure to go out and make the most of the time. Earlier, due to rains, there was no facilities and we were not sent out. So we had no other option just to practice on concrete whenever there is no rain and go out and play the main tournament. But now there is a lot of exposure. People, either all the players should take it very seriously and make sure like in whatever opportunities they get, make the best use of it and give back to the association and the people of Goa.
Pretty much the same. I mean, I started playing in the season 2007-8, and it was ordeal, which was there were a lot of challenges because I had an engineering degree. I kind of had to take a leap of faith whether I wanted to continue playing cricket or should I go take a job in a multinational company. So I debuted for India in 2014, and I had already joined Air Force. So for women cricketers, I still think it's slightly difficult because till today, the only employment giving organization in India to women cricketers is Railways. So that's something, and I'm very sure that a lot of other state associations have started contracts for even domestic players, which I am sure is going to happen in all of the states, including India, so that there is a financial security for male cricketers do make good money, but for women cricketers who do not really get into a WPL team or do not play higher level cricket, for them to continue playing cricket is the financial security bit is very important. So that's one thing. And yeah, 2014 when I debuted for India, probably it was all because of the hard work that was done not just by me, but the hard places my family had gone to, my coaches that had put in the work, and it was amazing. I actually I didn't really understand what it was until I got back home, like he said. So till the time you're playing cricket for India, you are thinking about winning World Cups. I mean, as women cricketer, I do dream of winning a World Cup for India. But at the end of the day, you play cricket just to be able to inspire one little girl or one little boy to pick up the game. And if we have done that on our journey, that's our cricketing journey is complete, I would say. So it's not just about winning medals and winning tournaments, winning World Cups, but it's also about inspiring the next generation. And it wouldn't be possible if it was not for the association, the support that we got from them, and the players that we played alongside, and the coaches' support. So it's good, but then I would always want to have another women cricketer who gets into a WPL team, another women cricketer who would get to represent India. If that happens, that will give me a lot of happiness.
Now we'll, if anyone has a question, please raise your hand and we'll take those questions. On, yeah.
My question is to Vipul. I think the last time Goa hosted an international match was in 2007. And we are seeing non-cricketing centers like Raipur hosting international matches and all of that. So when can the Goan public see an international cricket match again in Goa?
If we have proper blessings of the government, hopefully soon we are going to build a new stadium. So we have acquired a land already in Pandey, which is a good piece of land which is close to the airport also. Plus there is highway connectivity there. So hopefully soon, if everything goes smooth, so we will start building the stadium with the blessings of the government and with the BCCI.
Anyone else has a question? Yeah.
We have heard the panel and we have come to know various challenges or problems that Goan cricket have to face. And these problems may be from, of course, Goa is a small state having limited pool of talent, the attitudes of the players not being same, maybe the hunger not being same, and other issues. Can you highlight some positives that you might have seen amidst all this gloom? And secondly, is there any special need to work on the performance enhancement or mental conditioning that is required for the players to play with pride and be consistent? Because consistency has been definitely missing over this last so many years that I have followed Goan cricket. Some generations have definitely done well. Swapnil's generation was very good. And in that regards, whether mental conditioning is the need of the hour. But first, if you can highlight some positives, of course, in women's cricket as well.
I have mentioned with Goa Women's Premier League probably. We have another player from Goa who is made into Gujarat Giants, the guest player from Goa. So there'll be two of us. So keep cheering for us. Watch WPL. And I would say with contracts coming into the picture, you have WPL, you have GWPL, and there is an increment in the match fees as well for women cricketers. That's obviously at the higher level. But then just the exposure that the cricketers are getting. One of the positives I would say is for this year when we started our preparation for the season, we actually went to Jaipur and we played a lot of practice matches there. So I would see that as a positive because the association thinks that women's cricket is an area where they can invest in and there is so much more for women cricketers to achieve. So that's one thing. There were so many other women cricketers, I think 5 to 7 of them who were called for trials, which also is huge because the scouts are following women cricketers from Goa and they are being called for the trials. So that's also huge in terms of women's cricket development in the state. And like I said, I'm very sure in the next few years we would see a women cricketer from Goa doing really well in WPL and probably go on to play for India.
Yeah, as Shikha has said, same in the men's cricket, I feel players like Mohit Redkar, Darshan, they are knocking the doors. They are on the verge. Someday or the other, like sooner they'll somewhere get into the picture. Even Deepraj, there are few guys who have been called by a few franchises. So they are on that trial and tested kind of things. So at times things don't go at that particular moment, don't go your way, but I'm sure they'll break into it. And as you rightly pointed, psychological or mental aspect, that's a big thing. As I said, the accountability has gone up now since the money and everything has gone up. So obviously, as I pointed in the initial that there is that fear of failure is still there. And until and unless the player realizes that it's just it's a part and parcel of your life to be get dropped or to be go down, only the tough ones come back again and fight. So these are the things where, as our president is also there, obviously that mental aspect, psychologist, I would I feel in the coming years there will be psychologists placed with all the teams, or maybe one psychologist for all the state teams in Goa. That will definitely help to raise the standard and remove that fear of failure.
Anyone else has a question? Yeah, we'll go with him.
Hello. Everybody is talking about Women's Premier League, or IPL, and we find that our team, this Goan team, they're doing well in the Vijay Hazare or Mushtaq Ali. Those are the limited overs. But in Ranji Trophy, so what preparations as an association, this is for our president, we do to nurture them to play the multi-day cricket. So do we have multi-day under 14, multi-day under 19, 16, or for that matter, multi-day Premier League, which used to have earlier? If I go back, Swapnil, in fact, is the product of those multi-day matches, 2-day matches, Saturday, Sunday, we used to play 9 matches for one club. And those matches produced a lot of cricketers like Swapnil, Shadab, Saurabh, etc. So what plans do you have? And that was stopped. I don't know for what reason. What plans do you have to have such tournaments coming back? Otherwise, how are we going to produce multi-day players?
So I totally agree with that. Goa has been doing well in the shorter formats always. It has been our strength that we do well in the T20s and the one days, but might not be so good in the days matches. I think 2-3 years ago we have started again with the 3-day format of the Premier League. I think that is a plus point. Before that, in between, we used to have just a single-day Premier League. So now we have started with the 3-day Premier League. Also, we plan to expand many other tournaments for these juniors. As I said, I'm stressing on these decentralized system of cricket again, and we are going to start these centers, and we are going to have matches amongst these centers. So I think when you start there, when you start at the grassroots, I think then the result might come. We cannot have, due to constraints, we cannot have a lot of 3-day or 4-day matches in Goa because we already have a lot of other matches in other formats. That is, we have the school under 14 matches, under 16 matches. Even amongst the females, we have under 14, under 16. This time we are also doing the higher secondary school matches, which we are going to start very soon. Apart from that, we have 107 clubs who play matches against each other. Due to the lack of grounds, number of grounds, also due to the constraint of the seasons, we can hardly have one tournament, which is a 3-day tournament, that is the Premier League. But if we have more number of grounds, then definitely we can work on that. And GCA is trying to get this infrastructure up day after day. I think so when we resolve that, or when we solve that issue of the days matches, I think we can do better. But I would also like to add that, the two players who are sitting besides me now, Shikha and Swapnil, we always see them as our idols or as our heroes of Goan cricket, and Shadab included. What sets them apart from others is that their own self-realization and their hard work. If you see Shikha training on the ground, she trains with the entire team at a time. Once the team is tired or mentally tired or whatever, they go home, but Shikha stays back and she trains by herself. The same was with Swapnil. Swapnil used to go outside Goa to train by himself. He used to play a lot of matches. I think that attitude needs to come in all our players. I think GCA is an association, but not everything can be spoon-fed by GCA. There are also limitations on us. We can send them for a pre-season camp to Jaipur, to Pondicherry, to Delhi, wherever it is possible, and we have been doing that from the last 3-4 years. But I think as a person or as an individual, as a player, the player also needs to understand that he has to put in efforts by himself. Whenever he's free, he doesn't need to stay home or go to a party. It's a good culture in Goa, but a player needs to be serious and go outside Goa. There are no opportunities in Goa or no matches in Goa. He needs to go outside Goa and play these matches, like how Swapnil used to do, Sadab used to do, Saurabh used to do. So I think if that culture or that commitment comes in the player, I think we can do better from here.
And gentleman here had a question.
To the Mr. Nitin, right? See, can I be straight with the question? How much is the influence of the politics in selections of the team? Because I can see so many players are being hired from outside. I don't know, Sachin's son must be playing for Goa. Very surprising to see this. Now the question is whether we are lacking with the boys or there is something else which has to be replaced. Because that's the biggest question. Because I'm telling you, I'm a national player, not from the cricket, but I have played leagues, I have played Kangas, and I have played time shields. Okay? This is something which is, I'm also promoting the game of boxing in Goa. And something which I can see huge money government has spent in the infrastructure of Goa. SAG set up with beautiful coaches, like you mentioned, Nitin, is SAG, right? The kind of efforts he's been taking to put up. But somewhere, I will be straight with you guys, कि जब selection आता है तो वो आदमी दिखता नहीं है. Don't answer the question otherwise, but I'm just saying, it's not an allegation done.
You're right. I agree with some of your sentiments.
And it was like a shocking when a boy has been dejected. he never ever touches the bat. वो आएगा ही नहीं कभी. क्यों आएगा खेलने के लिए? Am I right or wrong? I don't know. Corporates have been pouring money. We have corporates pouring money for anything that you want. Goa is fantastic place. Entire India is looking at Goa. You know, to sponsor, to organize. They love Goa. But sir, I'm sorry to ask this.
No,
Yeah.
it's fair enough. It's fair enough because this is sentiment of many people. No, I understand, yeah. So I'll just answer this because since you took up Arjun's or whatever, previously there was, many people were critical on us because of Mohammad Azharuddin's son also. So I would just like to mention and clear the things out. See, when it comes to these players are taken as professionals or outstation players. When we take outstation players, as I've said previously, it's always a gamble. We have taken a Denda who has already represented India, and we thought he's going to mentor our boys or guide our boys in some positive way. But mid-season, he left us. That's a sad truth that we have been facing. I think, as I've already spoken, that ideal situation will be that we don't take any outsiders. But at this moment, we definitely need someone who has got a lot of experiences, a lot of skills and talent, and a person who can mentor our boys. We've had Ajay Ratra in the past who has done beautifully for the Goan team. He was an outsider. He came to Goa. He had mentored our boys. So I think we need someone like that. And as an outsider, it's always a gamble, as I previously said also. So, even if you get a India player and he doesn't do well, obviously will get criticized. So, we need to find a balance within that. So I think that is it. But I can assure you that these 3 slots of an outstation players, for us, we don't need to fill them. We plan not to fill them in the future, as long as our homegrown talent, crosses that limit and goes to that extent to show that talent and execute that talent which they have on the field and get some runs, or get some wickets, whatever.
And with that, it's curtains on this session. It was wonderful having all 3 of you. And we look forward to more conversations, and let's hope that game grows in this part of the world. Thank you.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we would request you to kindly stay back with us for another moment. And I would request Mr. Shayan to kindly hand over a small token of appreciation from our end to all the panelists. Thank you all once again. Thank you. And we have a round of applause once again for all the panelists. Well, that was a strong start to the day. From cricket, let's move to the sport the state is often synonymous for, football. This region's tryst with the sport dates back to 1883 and since. Goa has hosted the first international fixture played in the sport, which was during colonial time, produced a host of players who have made the country proud in national colors and emerged as a vibrant hub for the sport. Goans know their football and know that the only way to keep the sport robust is to keep evolving with the changing times. To channel this sentiment, I now invite Mr. Ashin Prasad, senior reporter with Sportstar, to lead our next panel, Rediscovering Goa's Football Magic. Can we have a round of applause for the gentleman?
Hello everyone. Welcome to this conclave, and I'll start with introducing my guests here. We'll start with Mr. Pradyum Reddy. Pradyum is the CEO of, currently the CEO of Dempo SC. He has previously been involved as assistant coaching roles in Bengaluru FC, Pune City, And he's also coached Shillong Lajong and DSK Shivajians in the I-League. He's also served as the technical director at Pune City. Welcome, Pradyum. Next is Mr. Manolo Márquez. Manolo is now a household name in Indian football. He is currently the head coach of FC Goa, bidding to take the team back to the ISL trophy. The Spaniard has had a long career as a player first and then as a coach in several countries, including Spain, Croatia, and Thailand. Before FC Goa, he has also had success in his 3-year stint at Hyderabad FC, where he won the ISL trophy in 2022. Welcome, Manolo. Next, we have Mr. Fernandis, a veteran administrator and a businessman who is currently the president of the Goa Football Association. But most importantly, a lover of the beautiful game that is football. Welcome, sir. And finally, we have Mr. Brahmanand Sangwarkar, a true Indian football legend and someone who was instrumental in putting Goa on the Indian football map. He is among the finest goalkeepers to put on an Indian shirt and also went on to captain the national team between 1983 and 1986. A Padma Shri and an Arjuna awardee, Brahmanand has played for legacy football clubs like Salgaonkar and Churchill Brothers as well. Welcome everyone, and as the topic of our discussion is rediscovering Goa's football magic, I would first of all want to start by asking you, has the magic been lost in the last 10 years? I would start with you, Pradyum. And
I think it's an interesting question. I think definitely if you look at the numbers from a club point of view, obviously the number of clubs playing in the top tier has declined. But if you look at the absolute numbers in terms of players playing at the national team, it's probably around the same in terms of if you look at about a decade, look at it there, the minutes played by players from Goa at the national teams, relatively constant. Just in the last World Cup campaign, you could say it's dropped now. We just one player consistently playing minutes. But I think you've got to scratch deeper and look at it further down the line. When you look into youth football, Goa has very little to no representation at under 23, under 20, under 19, under 17 levels in the national team. And I think that's what would be a big concern, because obviously the knock-on effect of that is 10 years down the line and later down the line. So, we shouldn't be asking the same question 10 years later unless we do something now.
The reason why I'm asking is, at least 10 years back in the National League, which was the I-League, we had 4 Goan clubs in the top division. But now we have in the ISL the representation of FC Goa. But there are the Goan clubs which we used to know fondly are currently in the lower division. So what is the reason behind that?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sportstar, for inviting us. See, in national level, we have presently 3 clubs. Since 2005 till 2015, in India, we was having around 300 players playing for Indian team and I-League. Today, we have 3 clubs, and we have around altogether international India team, 20 players are playing. So our focus is, since last 10 years, football was in Goa not that popular because of lack of vision from our leadership. So since we have taken over, we made sure that our grassroots level should be very strong. then we can focus after 4-5 years. My dream from Goa, we should have at least 400 to 500 players playing in international level.
Sir, same question to you, Brahmanand sir. You being a former player from the state, like the question I was asking, like, has the magic been lost? Because the state was even declared as a state sport. The football was declared as a state sport in 2012. But do you feel like a lot has not happened in the last decade?
Yes, I think when withdrawal of some of the top clubs from Goa, from the I-League, before the ISL could take place, and now plenty of football is being played here. Maybe the schools, the football association, the age group tournaments are going on. But they will go to certain level. Beyond that, earlier there were, if any player who was trying to get into that, there were so many clubs. That platform was there, and that platform is missing today here. Except Churchill Brothers in the I-League, now FC Goa is part of it. Where the product of the players will go? That's the question mark. Of course, they can go rest of the country, but then depends on the player's pathway, where he decides to go. Best of the players somehow we see him disappearing from the field. It's because that's one of the reasons. If Goa comes back to that level of the more teams coming back again to the I-League level at least, I think more number of players can play and the charm can come back. And that's what I'm looking for.
Manolo, Mr. Brahmanand sir was talking about the platform which is lacking, but FC Goa is a club which has traditionally in the last few years been wanting to bring through the local players through the system and into the first team. And as a first team coach who has joined the club the last summer, how important is it for you as a coach to like stick to this ideology?
Hello, good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here. It's a difficult thing for me to speak about it because, you know, I'm not from India. It's my only 4 years here in the country. 3 seasons where I had a similar problem, but even worse because nobody played football in Hyderabad. And I know that in the 50s or 60s, one team who is Hyderabad Police, they won championships and they had a lot of players in the national team in that moment. But after 50 years, football practically didn't exist. I think it's not the same in Goa. The structure of at least in FC Goa, is completely different. The structure of the club is good if I compare with my former experience. But I have the feeling, not only in FC Goa, and not only in most parts of India, I have the feeling in a lot of countries that we are losing some important parts because we are speaking about development, and development is not that ISL, because ISL is like the image of Indian football to the world. But in my opinion, we have to improve in the grassroots. I know the sentence is very easy, but to do these kind of things is very difficult. But and it takes time. But obviously, I am sure that there is a big space for India in the next years, not 5-10 years. You know, this takes time. It's more than this.
Speaking of grassroots, like currently in the senior national team, there are 2 Indian players, and obviously, like there are other factors like injuries as well, which plays into it. But in terms of the supply line which is coming through, it's from Goa. It's not as great as like a Mizoram or even a Punjab. and Calcutta. So what, in terms of fixing the grassroots, like, you coming from Catalonia, Barcelona, we have seen the number of players, say, in like a La Masia, like the biggest example which we can take in Barcelona. And even the number of players who are coming through from the local academy to the senior team. And even in the time where you were there, like, can you give us an idea about like what is essential in like fixing the grassroots system, and what are the things which we can use here to take things forward?
The thing is that we can speak about this maybe for hours, no? I will try to be shorter, obviously. The thing is, the money is in the highest categories. But the best coaches would have to be in the academies with the small kids, because this is the moment where the kid has to start to learn football, no? There is a process that in some countries, I know, for example, our assistant coach, Gauram Singh, he played I don't know how many times in the national team, and he started to play football at 14 or 15 years old, which is incredible, no? I think that I am from a country where football is another kind of religion. You play football from the first moment that you have some memories. You know that the first gift is a ball, then it's about the process, no? It's about the process. It's about you have to play football as soon as possible, first alone, then learn to play with your teammates, then finally play against opponents. And there is a long process that you cannot train kids from 5 years old same way than kids than 11 years old, or youth players or professional players. And finally, this is the reason that I told you, no, that the best coaches should be with the kids, because finally it's not about only coach, it's about educator, it's about second father, it's about everything. And especially you need to show how they can understand the game. Yes, understand the game means, I put always this example, no? If you are a kid and you are try to surpass one opponent, and if you lose the ball, the coach, the parents, everyone shouting, why you lose the ball, why you don't pass the ball, blah, blah, blah. This is the moment that they can dribble, they can lose the ball, because these are the correct way. Finally, the process is, okay, I will lose the ball. Maybe the next time I will choose the correct option. Yes, it's a big process. It's a big process in everything. That this is the reason that I say that takes time. And you need, okay, we are speaking, let's see if India arrives to the World Cup in the next years. It's not about this. This is the last part of the chain. You have to start for the development of the players, and how is this development, because development is only a word. It's about how is this development.
Pradyum, you have recently taken over as CEO at Dempo, someone who's overseeing everything within the club, from the senior team to the juniors. So, like Manolo was saying, like, back home, back in his home, where players are starting at a young age. So, in terms of setting the grassroots right, like, how challenging is it when that's something which you can't do here from a young age?
See, I mean, what happens sometimes is we mask the problem. So you were talking about, what's happening with the football, and you talk about there were 4 I-League teams earlier, now there are less teams. That's not what's going to impact, obviously what happens at a youth level, because there's still opportunities for players to go out and play. 10 years ago on coaching courses in India, you'd always show the Goa pyramid and you'd say, Goa's got the best football pyramid amongst Indian states, where you've got under 13, 15, 17, they had the TASA Goa League and then the Goa Pro League. But the number of matches, it's not just having a pyramid, you have to play. I mean, you're talking about in Spain, these kids are playing throughout the year. I mean, you just heard about the cricket players having problems about not being able to play more than 5 months. As a club, we can have an under-13 team. We can start even younger. We've got an under-15 team. There's some coaches here from FC Goa as well. We've probably all had about 75 training sessions from June till now with those kids, under-13, under-15. But each team's only played about 6 or 8 matches. So if by the end of the year, from the ages of 13 going up to 18, if you're averaging 10 games as kids playing there, it's nowhere near enough. Now, there's people in the audience like Savio, Mariano and all. If you ask them how many games they played, Raman and all that, from the ages of 13 to 18, it's probably tenfold compared to the matches. So in a way, we've brought in things like we've got GFTC, which has been around here for 10 years. You've got training centers, so they're training players, but there's no games. So even the example Manolo just gave now about dribbling in a game. If you don't have games, you're not going to become better, whether it's cricket, football, any other sport. So just putting leagues and saying, look, we're conducting leagues, but if it's finished in 1 month or 2 months, which is how a lot of our youth leagues are, it's just there for ticking a box saying we're conducting something, but we're not actually doing meaningful youth development. Similarly, coaches aren't going to develop. If you're a coach at an under-13, you've got your license, you've just done your C license, and you train for 2 months for this league to start and finish, and you play 8 games, how do you develop as a coach? If the coaches don't develop, the players aren't going to develop. So the whole ecosystem has to be looked into and seeing, like, how can you make it? You need to increase it. And it's possible, it's feasible if you go hyper-local rather than trying to address the whole state as a problem. And, cricket guys mentioned upon having development centers. We've got a lot of grounds in Goa that are owned by or run by the Department of Youth and Sports. Are there training centers in each one of them? Probably not. Do they have regular training? Do they play one? You've got GFTC centers, hundreds of them are around the state where coaching is going on regularly, but they don't play one another. So coaches are not going to develop and players are not going to develop. So you have to fix those problems. Otherwise, we're going to be here in the same place 10 years later, and the states like Mizoram you mentioned will be way ahead of us. Like I know FC Goa's coaches, if they're going to scout players now, they're probably looking and spending more time looking at the Mizo Premier League than the Goa Pro League, because players from there are ready to transition into professional football and can make their debuts. And the numbers show it. The numbers from players from Mizoram and Manipur, when they make their debuts in the top leagues, play more meaningful minutes than players from Goa Pro League who go in to debut in these leagues. So it's not just quantity, it's the quality as well that we've got to fix. And, Goa, Mizoram, comparable in terms of population. GDP-wise, I'm sure Goa's ahead of it. But more players are coming out of those places because they've got better structures in their youth systems.
Mr. Fernandis, in terms of the number of matches which he was talking about, how was it that, as a president, what are the challenges which you face in, not having those many matches for the...
See what Mr. Pradyum said, we are the only states in India who plays maximum matches. I am in the Indian Football Federation League Committee also. Other states are playing just 10 matches, as we play 40 matches. From grassroots, from 8 years, FC Goa, and we associate with them. Under 8, under 9, under 10, under 12, under 13. We all have all grassroots level teams. And match play, like under 13, we play 30 matches. Each club play 30 matches. Under 15, 27 matches. GPL, Goa Premium League, that plays around 52 matches. It's the highest in the country. So as an association, we give the platform. It is up to club also to come forward. If we are lacking somewhere, we can rectify it. And we can see, we cannot talk about Mizoram, all their upcoming states, like Orissa, they are the best now. Because to organize, we require a lot of funds. We don't get any support from government. One gentleman mentioned, there are many people who sponsor. I am happy, I will go them, I can give my presentation. Kindly support us. See, to have a matches, to give the platform, we required funding. Like Odisha, they are spending 3,000 crores per annum only for football. As Goa, till now, in last 1.5 years, we got only 12 lakhs. So how you can think? We have infrastructure, but as per FIFA standard, we have only 4 grounds. We have 200 grounds. But for FIFA standard, we have only 4 grounds. So all this conclusion, but I am happy, and if anything is lacking, we can play more matches, and we can give chance to more kids come forward and play more game. I'm just giving an example. Last year, we have conducted one under-14 Women's League. After 22 years, we are the champion of India. So why these girls got champion? Because they got more matches to play. That's the reason we got a result after 22 years. This is our passion, and this is a commitment by GFA to the clubs and for state.
If you are looking just closer to home, in Mumbai, the Reliance Foundation Youth Development Center, there the children are playing as close to 30 games around the same time. I mean, Pradyum was mentioning about how 7 games is something.
भारत के हर नागरिक का सपना हुआ साकार। अयोध्या में सज रहा राम का दरबार। राम मंदिर पर सबसे बड़ी कवरेज सिर्फ news18india.com पर।
Parents is also helping us, and club also helping us to get them in the center, like south side, north side. But due to some children is coming from Kankona, for them to come here in South Goa is very difficult. For that, we are trying to solve this. We are talking to government, support us. We'll make sure that Goa, no team is only playing 7 men. At least more than 15 matches they play, each league, not 7.
So Brahmanand, can you talk us through your time when you were coming up? I think around the same time there were a lot more Goan players coming through. What was it like then, back then, in terms of the number of matches you played? When did you get into playing football?
Actually, what used to happen when the season used to start on the 1st of June, maybe 1st of July, the league games could start. Those days, there was not much care of the play fields. Even if in the heavy rains, we would play. The very next day, there's another match. The match would be played over there by the Goa Football Association. It was going on. Not only the Goan League. We were playing, I remember there were 2 rounds in the league. 2 rounds. Out of 10 teams, we were playing 18 matches in a year. State league, top league is concerned. After that, we would travel to other states where top tournaments were going on there. Like for Bangalore, Stafford Cup, Eputha Memorial, then you go to Kerala, Chakora Gold Cup, Seth Nagji, lot of the tournaments were going on. Hyderabad Nizam Gold Cup, Delhi, Durand Cup, DCM. I tell you, on those tournaments, we were coming back home after enjoying all that, with 20 days rest before the next season could start. And they were all competitions, not just training for 2 months. I played few matches, no. All competitions, and those competitions you will see top Indian players would play. I would be angry to go to Delhi to play against Mohan Bagan because we were beaten here by Mohan Bagan or East Bengal here. That was competition, high-level competition going on throughout the year, which is missing totally today. To build a competitive mind is very important, which is missing. We play the state league. One day I was very sad to say, in December, one of the players who played for India was playing in Goa. So I'm leaving. I have been told to leave. I said, where? Season is up to June. He said, no, sir. There's nothing for me from December. The league is over. I'm leaving. I'm leaving Goa. I'm going to Bangalore to form better pictures. This is the state of at the moment. So all the revival of the tournaments has to come over there. I always say, even the federation should support those associations. to revive this. I know when the ISL has come in, I-League has come in, all this has been died down sort of because people will rush definitely to the quality football. That was also quality football, but there were not ISL and I-League those days. But what I'm trying to say is let the competition go, continuity has to be there. And not only the top level, including the age group tournaments. I think I remember in 92, Japanese under-12 team came to Goa to play. They must have played some of the country, some of the states in India. After that, I'm never seen except Uzbekistan came for under-16 one year back. Under-16 team of Uzbekistan come to play against the Indian team. It's fine. But this continuity has to be there even for the youth team. And the total media coverage has to be there for that. If you look at I-League, some people take a back. Because that publicity of the ISL has to also go for the I-League. So people get attracted. And when you play with the youth teams under 15, under 17 coming, suppose the Dempo ground, maybe Japanese clubs, developmental side is coming to play over with the Indian team. Maybe they have a round over the country for 44 matches in one time, one club may be coming down here. I tell you, most of the people from Goa will rush there to see. And those, especially the young boys and the girls will rush to see that. That is the way we have to do all come back to that level to see. We have to develop the interest. That coverage has to be there. Nothing is there. We have to ask for somebody. When the league is, I have not seen this year's Pro League because of various reasons. But I'm telling you, unless this goes on, the continuity has to go on of competition to develop a competitive mind. And consistency will come only that time. If you drew a match or lose against a very top team in the national level also, when we play a weaker team, maybe equally, mind slows down of a player. That's where the mentoring comes for even that level. So we got to develop everything together in line. I think that will help it back. But coverage has to be there.
I mean, looking from the outside, at least like Goa and football seems to go hand in hand. Like everyone, when you think about Goa, think about beaches, and football is another aspect which comes to mind. But has there gradually the interest in the sport been declining? I mean, even in the cricket panel, they're talking about mobile phones for the players, but what are, like the challenges which with children having access to mobiles and gadgets, like the competition there is like now you have to fight again playground versus mobile phones.
It is still there. Most of the clubs are controlling this. Because I was with Saza Football Academy. When we have a play match day, the next day, they were controlled by the coach. All the mobiles were surrendered to the office. But we're not allowed to. Even if somebody finds another mobile in his room, maybe a second mobile of his, if he's caught, we could take actions on that. I know, and that mentoring is very, very important for the players to see seriousness about the game. Yeah.
Pradyum, we were talking about Dempo, Salgaonkar, the top 4 Goan clubs, Sporting Club Goa, back in and Churchill Brothers in I-League in 2013-14, but none of them are in the top division right now. And back then, so that helped with the better ecosystem in terms of more players, coaches, and in terms of even on the field, a better rivalry, having 4 strong clubs within the state. How big a miss are all these clubs? And like, when can we ever see a time where these teams can make the step up? And what can be done to get there?
I think as Dempo, we're trying to get back. We're in second division, starts tomorrow for us. If we can finish top 2, we're back in the I-League, and Sporting are in there with us as well, Sporting Goa. So feasibly, looking at the results of the third division, if both teams can continue this rich vein of form, then we could see 2 Goan teams back in the I-League. That would make it 3 Goan teams, plus if you take FC Goa in the ISL, you've got 4 teams in the top flight of Indian football. So realistically, that could happen within 6 months' time. We could have 4 teams from Goa in the top 2 flights of Indian football. So maybe that'll, again, when you have teams at a higher level, there's more revenue coming into it, so you can afford to pay players higher than you would in the Goa Pro League. So players that, at the moment, there's obviously a lot of players from Goa, young players who are playing in the Goa Pro League, and then they look at it, and we've all experienced this, where they're thinking, I'm not earning enough money, I'm going to move to Dubai or I'm going to go to the UK and a lot of them are leaving. A lot of talented footballers have left Goa over the last few years. So maybe that is one thing that maybe they'll just delay that decision to go abroad because they've got an opportunity to play at a high level. But I think, that's again, it's a convenient thing to look at because there's a lot of players from other states that don't have top flight teams in their state and they play and they try and make it in another team outside. So I think we have to look at that and address that as well, that why aren't players from here being able to play at that top flight? And, maybe we have to look forward rather than just looking back. We keep looking back and saying, oh, in those days there were more teams, therefore more players. But how can we start producing more players to maybe export more players to other states and be at the forefront? I mean, whether it's coaching, whether it's tech, we have to adapt. Other sports are adapting. And I think as football as well, we have to try and adapt because you can't, once teams get into a competitive environment, you've got a team in the ISL, Manolo's not going to look at just Goan players if he wants to win. He's going to look at the best player in that position for him. And similarly, whether it's Dempo, Sporting, Churchill, if you want to compete with Mohammedan Sporting or Srinidhi and others to try and get into the ISL, you want the best players in India that you can afford in your budget. And maybe that means you can find better value outside and you will look to do that. So it's not necessarily a cause and effect just because you have 4 teams. You're going to necessarily start producing more players in Goa.
Manolo, before you came to FC Goa, you were with Hyderabad. You might have been you might have heard about like what Goa's connection to football is. And also you might have been very well aware of the Goa's youth system which trickles through. Can you talk us through about how comprehensive it is in terms of is that something which can be implemented across clubs within the state? And what are the challenges which those clubs might have to go through to get there?
Sorry, because maybe I don't reply your question. I think that the problem is general. It's not only in Goa. It's in most of not in India, in a lot of parts of the world. No? One thing is development, and another thing is organization. Yes, organization is how many games you can organize, you can play, blah blah blah. Development is, okay, I finished the school today. I am still playing with some friends in the school, in the street. Okay, 2 against 2, 3 against 3. Yes. Development is when I have to play. When I met, we play with 5 against 5, and in the other team there are some guys that they are older than me. Maybe they are 13 and I am 11. Okay, then I have to think, okay, how can I surpass these guys? Then this is a process where you are learning how you need to do the correct things to develop my style or my game or like this. No? Then finally, what happened? And then after this small example, you will play some games. And then when you play some games, you use these kind of aspects during the game. When you use this kind of aspects during the game, maybe you want to be coach. Maybe if you want to be coach, it's because you understand what you have to do. Now seems that the coach is the person who has to do it. You run this, you run that, this, you have to go in this direction, then this movement, and practically the creativity of the player doesn't exist. But this is not only in India. India is like 20 countries in one country. It's very difficult to organize I think that every state has to organize his organization, no? Sorry. The thing is that in the world, 60, 70 years ago, players, or people, players, kids, they played during 7, 8, 9 years, 9 hours per day. After 20 years, they play 5. After 20 more years, they play 3. After 20 more years, they played one. Today, if you cancel one training session, the players celebrate a party, practically. No, I think that is in terms of hours of the development, the improvement is about how many hours you play. If you speak about tennis, I know it's an individual sport, it's different, but how many hours they train every day to be in the, maybe in the top 100, not top 10, yes? Then this is about this. If it's not only, okay, I play. I play football because I like, yes, I like, but why you like? Yes, it's about, you need to understand a lot of things that I feel as a coach that the players arrive to the top level in India or to top level in Spain, and they don't know a lot of important things. And we are speaking even with players that they are playing in the best competitions in the world.
Yeah, I agree with him fully. Other day, I was been watching inter-village tournaments in Goa. It said a number of hours you play on the ground. Mrs. Savio Medera was with me, and as usual, I'm always want to be punctual. 4:15 is the match. We were all there together. Match started at 5 o'clock. And he kept his watch. Bully, you see, he said. They call me bully. It was 25 minutes first half. All youngsters, they're all promising players. I remembered how they, like Bente and Rathan, they were playing villages, but they had to play 45 minutes, 40 minutes. 20 minutes first half, 25. Second half was 20 minutes. How can the player grow in a village? Now you look at the trend has gone otherwise. Veterans 40 plus are playing 30 or 35 minutes. And they keep on playing. We at 60 are playing today maybe 30 minutes a day. But these youngsters should be at the same time. GFA is working on that. They have discussions on that. I think they're coming to the point and they will strictly implement this. The referees also wait. How can you grow by playing 20 minutes the first half and young boys? They go to play 45 minutes. The matches should start early. It's going to take place and they're working on that. This has been going for years now. I hope full support to the president to see that we implement this and we go through.
I'll finish with Mr. Fernandis before we open the floor for questions. Sir, when you came in as president, you said you're going to prioritize youth and women's football. We touched upon youth football. In terms of the women's football, like we have the GFA Vedanta League, which is the top league. But in terms of, again, with the grassroots, like what are the steps which you're going to be taking to take the game to the next level?
See, for youth development, for women's, I have mentioned earlier that already we started under 14. Under 15, women's is also going on. So with that result, we got, after 22 years, women title in India. See, development, youth required money. Like clubs, very few clubs are coming forward to put pumping money in the system. See how Mr. Pramod was saying, why players are leaving country or Goa? Because we are not paying them enough salary or enough perks. So that's the reason All India Football Federation has made that minimum salary should be X for player. So they, see when they grow, like under 13, player, when we give them the best practices, after 19 years or 20 years, if they leave, it is loss for the system. Because we are creating one player, and after he's ready, when he's not getting enough salary, he'll leave the country and he will leave the football. So that is very bad. But we have very good club in Goa, like Dempo, Vedanta, now Salgaonkar has come, and another Salgaonkar, the Taraj also involved. So if we have good corporate, sporting is also there. If they pump more money in the system, we can go ahead, and what legacy was there for football in Goa, that will remain. GFA, like Mr. Brahmanand said, to aware about people. All GPL matches we show live. All women's leagues we show first time live telecast. As a GFA, whatever possible to development or betterment of the football in Goa, we are there to improve it. But lack of fund and lack of government support, we can't do what we have to do. But in coming days, government will listen to us, whatever they have promised. If they fulfill, we can change Goan football in coming 1-2 years.
Hopefully so. I'll now open the floor to questions that Mr. is raising his hand over there.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Rahul Chandavarkar. I'm a former newspaper editor, and a big sports fan. So my question is really to Brahmanand and Kaitan. And I've been living settled in Goa for the last 8 years and observing football pretty closely. My question is, we have the GFA and the GFDC, two bodies looking after the fortunes of Goan football. But Goan football standards have plummeted. You know, last year in the Santosh Trophy, nobody like Gujarat beat Goa. That explains the story. So my question really is there a lack of coordination between the GFA and the GFDC? I mean, somebody like me suspects there is a lack of coordination and two bodies are working at cross purposes.
I don't think so, because the Goa Football Development Council, as I was the chairman, of course, term is over, we are developing up to 12 years of age. Here and there, we take up to 14 years of age. And from there, the boys are slipping into the other clubs. I agree with you, we have to come under one umbrella. It is going to be likely in the near future. But, and all these players, young boys, through the schools, they play for the schools, they play for underage teams to other clubs of the GFA under 13L. But organizations are different. Our developmental side is exposure to the kids. To get to the field was the main thinking of Mr. Parrikar, who was the first Chief Minister of Goa. To get them onto the field, get them united onto the field. And that's the one thing. And second part is, besides the coaching, beyond that age, they play for the other clubs, this thing. And I think some of the young boys have also joined FC Goa, somewhere in some of the clubs, in the Pro League also. And they're growing up after 14 years of age. It is not, we don't clash with each other, but I would prefer that coordination is very required. We had one meeting with the GFA, I remember, when Caetano was the vice chairman. No, he was a member of the council. Only one meeting we had before the council's term was over. That to come under an umbrella and to coordination to do together to push forward Goan football. And I'm for that. I hope it goes through.
For GFA, which I have mentioned, see, GFDC government has made one corporation to develop youth. But end of the day, last so many months, there is a headless body it is. So we suggested that whichever 5 CR crores they are giving to the GFDC, that can be pumped to GFA, because matches we organize. So that fund comes, we can develop, as we have given proposal to GFDC, that every village we have 191 clubs. That center we can combine and work for one team, like a development of football. So it is up to government now what step to be taken in coming days.
May I ask one supplementary question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Ketan, you reiterated many times that there is lack of government support, you know, that's a little baffling, because the government of Goa designated football as a state sport. So it's quite ironical if the support is not coming. So I think the onus is on GFA. First and foremost, I think you all should just merge the two and make it just one GFA. And you can have a talent scouting wing, you know, and you can have the best people there to talent scout. But I think you must shout from the rooftops to get the government to support you, because then otherwise the government of Goa is just doing lip service.
That's what I say. See, last year, government has announced 6 crores for football. And we received only 12 lakhs. Our GFA budget is 4 crores. From where we will develop? We ourselves is pumping money in the system. Our corporate, like our Dempo, Vedanta, Seza, all they are pumping the money. If government don't support, see, they are putting money in the...
बोला कौन है? मैं पर हुआ क्या? बिजली का बिल नहीं भरा और पूछता है हुआ क्या? अभी बिल भर, नहीं तो काट.
CM also. So he promised me that in coming days they will release it. But till come, we cannot say anything. Because of our passion, GFA, and all our 191 clubs, they are coming forward. We are conducting leagues. That's the reason football is growing. Otherwise, it's all mercy of government.
We'll just quickly take one more question.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Augusto from Gomantak Times. My question is for Kaitan. You keep saying, one, that the government has promised GFA 6 crores. In the assembly question and answer session, he had promised 6 crores to GFDC, not GFA. Number 2, you say that you all lack money. At the same time, you say that GFA telecasts live GPL as well as the Women's League. Why isn't that money being given to play the teams? Do you expect the teams to keep on their CSR exercise that they had started 25 years back, like Dempos, Salgaonkars, Cesars? They can't keep spending money and get nothing back, no? If you are telecasting the games, why isn't that money going to the teams?
Mr. Augusto, this money which we telecast, we took sponsorship from them only. And they show it. Secondly, the 6 crores is, you're wrong that you're saying this as budgeted for GFDC. No, GFDC, they have a separate budget. When we met before this budget, we have given proposal to the Honorable Chief Minister when he invited all association. And he has promised in the budget speech. We have document in writing. Simply don't create wrong information in front of other people. Mr. Augusto, you can check. See, you have some ego with the Goa Football Association. So keep aside that ego and let's think about what we can do better for Goan football. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have time for more questions. It was an interesting debate. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Well, that was thoroughly illuminating session that we all had here. And it was very refreshing to learn more about how traditions with such decorated histories can also constantly strive to learn and get better. And now I request Mr. Ashish to kindly present our guests with the mementos as a token of appreciation for being present here with us. Thank you so much, gentlemen. You may all take your seat. Can we have another round of applause? And now, our next panel deals with an important function of sports, particularly in a nation as diverse in positives and negatives like ours. We see how sports has been platform for governments, NGOs, and even businesses to uplift socially and economically challenged sections of society. From being a tool to encourage education to being a source of financial stability alongside being great to ensure health, sports has helped many societies support their most vulnerable. Our next panel is on sports for community and social development. To moderate this session, I now request Mr. Suresh Balakrishna, Chief Revenue Officer of the Hindu Group, to join us on stage. Can we have a round of applause for the gentleman? And over to you, sir.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. The last session before lunch, so we promised to finish on time. I'm usually a very confident person on stage, but seeing the two panelists I have with me today, I am slightly overawed, I must say. The first of my panelists is Mr. Srinivas Dempo. Mr. Srinivas Dempo is chairman of the Goa-based Dempo Group of Companies. Mr. Dempo has a long association with football. He was also the president of the Goa Football Association from October 2010 to July 2014, and the All India Football Federation vice president from December 2012 to December 2016. The Dempo way of commerce, he says, is doing business with a human face. Mr. Dempo is on the Executive Council of Goa University, besides being associated with a number of non-governmental organizations performing yeoman service to society, such as the Charles Correa Foundation, as also the Goa Cancer Society, whose president he is. He continues his multi-generational engagement with Goan society under the Dempo Charities Trust and Vasantrao Dempo Education and Research Foundation. Mr. Srinivas Dempo, please come, sir. Equally inspiring is my second guest, Dr. Sagar Salgaonkar. Hailing from a family of doctors, Dr. Sagar Salgaonkar is the second generation of this revered legacy in Goa. Managing director of the Geno Group, Dr. Salgaonkar's business empire deals with pharmaceuticals and medical solutions for all. The Geno brand is also a family-run business that prioritizes humanity and a consumer-first approach. Dr. Salgaonkar's work has also seen him take up leadership positions in key regional organizations like ASSOCHAM's Goa State Council. Dr. Salgaonkar also runs Geno Sports Club, which supports sports from football and cricket to chess. Outside of football, one of the club's biggest success stories has been the 17-year-old Grandmaster Leon Luke Mendonça, a Goan chess prodigy. Dr. Sagar Salgaonkar, please come, sir. Probably the two biggest legacy brands of Goa, I'm guessing, sitting on my right and left. So let's begin by asking them about their commitment to sports. My question is, probably among the two biggest legacy brands in Goa, why have you chosen sports as an efficient vehicle to work towards community building? You could have chosen education, you could have chosen health, you could have chosen poverty. Why did you choose sports as a route for community building? Can we start with you, Mr. Dempo?
First of all, good afternoon to everyone, and I thank you, Sportstar, for having me here today. It's a real pleasure and privilege to be talking to the August gathering here. Let me start by answering your question. The group has been in CSR since the time it came into existence. CSR has become mandatory probably over the last 5 years. We've been in football before actually I was born. I was born in 69 and our club started in 67. We've been in education again from 1962 onwards, after Goa got its liberation. So sports and education is something that has been passed on from legacy. Now, if I can, I've never asked the forefathers as to why they chose these two, but if I can guess, having known them and having worked with a few of them, I could only say that, sports builds character. And if we were already in education, sports builds discipline, character, you produce good citizens. So I think sports started from that as a passion to give something back to Goa, where Goans have given us so much back. And we felt that education and sports go hand in hand. So probably education was in 1962, and then sports was in 1967. And that was particularly football, which was loved and supported by so many Goans. So that was why probably the forefathers chose these two verticals for our CSR activities.
Dr. Sagar Salgaonkar, your take on your group's commitment and passion to sports.
Yeah, at the outset, good afternoon to everyone. From Gino, I would like to extend a big thank you for the Hindu group and the Sportstar for having me as a representative of Gino as a part of the conclave. Gino group has been in sports since the time of its inception. And the entire credit for that, in fact, goes to my dad, Mr. Dilip Salgaonkar, who is in the audience today. He was himself a very, very avid sports person, engaged in all sporting activities, whether it was hockey, it was football, it was cricket, table tennis, badminton. And I think the love for sports, runs in our family. Coming to why we chose sports, I think we, as in the Gino group, is always active in other spheres of CSR as well, whether it comes to education, or whether it comes to social causes, whether it is promotion of the girl child, or, But in India, I think nothing binds a population as much as, unites a population as much as sports does. And if you need to, as Mr. Dempo has said, if you need a society to imbibe its values of discipline, of hard work, perseverance, and most importantly, the two virtues which make great sports persons or, or sports teams. One is the unity, in terms of the team, and to accept defeat and as gracefully as you enjoy victory in sports. Because these are two things, I think, which are very important qualities which every person must have. And sports persons know that, they are a good top-level sports person do have those qualities. So I think because of this and the impact that sports has, on a society, on development society, I think that one of the main reasons why we are into sports.
Team building, unity, passion driving the country. Dr. Dempo says it makes great citizens, sports. My next question to you, Doctor, is that every region has specific issues or specific problems to solve, for which corporates like you stand up and either go the sports route or, like you said, the education route or whatever. In Goa as a region, what were the two top challenges you would name that you are trying to address? What are the challenges and how are you trying to address them?
If you look at sports, specifically in terms of sports, I think for any region to develop as a sporting area or a sporting state, there are a few things which need to be taken care of. One is infrastructure, development of infrastructure and maintenance of infrastructure. Second is coaching and training of skills, the skill sets, whether it is in terms of the core sportsmen themselves, or whether you look at all the facilities or services that are allied to sports. For example, you can take in cricket, say the coaching academies, umpires, scorers, other technicians. Their training is vitally important if the sports has to develop. If you say, if you look at soccer, it has to be the refereeing and all the other, physiotherapy, the recuperation services after the sports, after a match. All these things have to develop in unison. It is not enough only to have a focus on developing of sports persons, because a sports person can do only so much on the ground. For a sports person's life, there is a large part of success that has to be done outside the ground. They are training, they are recovery, they are recuperation, and they are mental training, and how you deal with them mentally as sports. But those things are vitally important. We as corporates are always there, if to support the government or to support the associations as and when they require to do so. But I think that it should be a two-way traffic. In the sense, for example, supposing there is an event or a sporting event that happens in the state of Goa, and obviously we corporates, the Dempo Group, Gino has always been part of most of the events, that happen in terms of, say, cricket. But it should not be a one-way traffic in the sense the corporates only spend. There has to be certain avenue in which the corporates also get back what they are putting. That is one of the major incentive that is there in any other sporting event anywhere in the country. You look at any of the cricketing events, look at an IPL, or you look at a Chennai Premier League, look at the Karnataka Premier League, any of these Premier Leagues, there's always something which the corporates get back in turn. I think that is something which is missing in the state of Goa, but I think most of the associations would be working on that. I think GCA, GFA would be looking. Otherwise, it is only a question of putting in the money. And there are very few corporates who can do that. If you want generally a sports to flourish, there have to be a large number of private organizations that take interest in that. And I think that is one of the areas where we need to look at how we develop that aspect. And you will find a lot of corporations, a lot of private companies coming in and helping the organizations, helping the state of Goa, helping the government in organizing such things. So this is just one of the examples. Secondly, we corporates are always ready to partner, governments or associations to develop infrastructure. For example, the Gino Group, we developed entire football ground, at Borgeshwar, at Mapsa. But there has to be some kind of a support in terms of to overcoming the challenges, overcoming the smooth functioning of that particular, and that is where I think maybe the associations or the government can play a bigger role in helping corporates, partnering them to develop infrastructure, and that would be basically that's the partnership which will work, a public-private partnership. So I think these are some things which can be looked at.
Mr. Dempo, so he believes developing of allied services and government support to corporations who are willing to put their money where their mouth is seems to be the two challenges. What, according to you, are the two challenges that this region is facing?
So I'll give you a little bit of Goan landscape as how I understand it. Goa has a lot of good things. It doesn't have abject poverty. So, most of the population of Goa doesn't have to think about bijli, sadak, pani. You may have power cuts and you may have water shortage, but if you compare to the rest of the country, we are far better off. It's a small state, 1.5 million population. which may be a couple of districts in Maharashtra. So this is all the good news, you know. Then the aspirations of the population become different. You know, you're no more involved in just say, where will I get my water from? Where will I get my food from? And then the aspirations become different, and particularly with the younger generation, what do you do to them? You know, one is for them to contribute productively and for them to try and retain them. See, a lot of the problem today in Goa is exodus of younger population. They either go to the west, or they go to Bangalore, or they go to Mumbai. You know, so only people like Sagar and me, because we have something to stay back, you know. We stay back here because of family legacy and the businesses that our families have promoted. So I found that the two important things that Goa really needs is, one is a good education system. And again, I'll tell you how private families like Dempo, Salgaonkar, Chogles and all got into education, because Goa got late into the independence bandwagon. And when we got late, there was no, you know, the government was starting afresh. So all the private sector players came and said, we must do something for Goa so that our children don't go to far off places like Belgaum and Bombay. And you know, this is how our parents studied. They went out of Goa. So the institutions of higher education were put by these families. And parallelly, we had a very, very passionate chief minister, who was the first chief minister of Goa, who himself said, I want football and cricket. You know, his contribution to Goan sports ecosystem was phenomenal. You know, he built football grounds. Bandodkar Gold Trophy, he donated a gold trophy those days. Which politician will do it today? With his own money. So, you know, he was so passionate. And then he inspired people like the founder of Salgaonkars, founder of Dempo, Chogles, to put money into sports. And that's how I think the ecosystem developed. When we said the need arose because of the need then. And that need today is different because the aspirations have changed. That was basic education, basic sports. Now the challenge is, how do you go to the other trajectory, which Sagar was discussing. You know, we need proper infrastructure, and I would say that the state should follow the Honorable Prime Minister's model. We build infrastructure, you take the game to the higher level. You know, infrastructure can't be built only by private sector, because we need an incentive. Then how do you keep the infrastructure going on? For example, you know, people like us, I consider as foolishly passionate because there's no return. I put 20 crores in my academy, zero return. For the last 5 years, lodging, boarding, schooling, and football training for 40 boys was given free of cost by me. So I had a 20 crore investment in football academy, and I was spending roughly 5 to 6 crores on the boys to make them good in football. So if you don't consider this foolishly passionate, what would you call? And how many corporates will come forward like this? But it's passion. It's something that, you know, we can afford to do. We'll do it. But then to take it to the higher trajectory, really what Sagar says, that the multi-stakeholder approach has to come. The football or the cricket associations or any association of sports, government and private sector players like us, to make this a world-class sporting excellence model. And that, fortunately for us, with two events like the National Games, the Lusophonia Games, we have developed certain infrastructure. Now the problem is, who's going to maintain it? Because the issue comes of maintenance, you know. So we need to find a revenue model whereby these stadiums are given to the private sector and says, you maintain it, you use it. Then Mr. Dempo doesn't have to put 20 crores in a football academy. So I think the whole model has to be studied and a viable model has to be discovered. I think this is a big challenge now going forward.
So I picked up on a word which you used, foolishly passionate. So that is one end of the spectrum. But here's a question that you're running a very successful business which runs across various businesses and categories. You also are running a very successful football club, and you are so much into using sports for CSR and all that. Where do you get the time to do all this, and what motivates you?
I think what motivates is Goa. You know, I just want Goa and Goans to get equal access to opportunity. You know, the biggest satisfaction you get is when we started the football academy, everybody asked us, why are you doing it? You're wasting your, you know, and I don't want to comment, but the GFDC model was talked about enough earlier. But you know, the kind of focused approach, training, you know, the kind of values that I instilled in these kids. Last year we sold almost 3 players to ISL clubs. So, you know, the success is rated. 2 of our boys went year before last to the under 15 India World Cup. I mean, you know, the qualifying rounds. So I think these are measures of success that you feel happy about. Everything can't be compared in monetary terms. Though the challenge really is how will you keep on putting money unless you see a revenue model in place. Not revenue for me, but for revenue to go back into that academy to make it world class. So really, passion is what drives you, something that you want to do for the state, and your personal passion for sports. Because unlike Sagar, who is a great sports person, I'm not a great sports person, but I've seen, you know, going for football games, going for cricket games right from my childhood. And you need to create time, you know, there's no time for anything at all. You know, but you need to know how to run your businesses. I run businesses through a lot of professional help. So that gives me some time to think about the future. And in that future game plan, sports occupies a very big presence of mind for me.
And you, doctor, how do you find the bandwidth, the time to run your Geno Pharmaceuticals and Geno Sports Club and give back to society? Where do you find the time?
No, I think, as I said, the entire concept of sports in business, of course, was started long back by my dad, Mr. Dilip Salgaonkar. I think his passion and his vision was the one which started Geno Sports Club in Geno Pharmaceuticals, and that is where seeing how much, I mean, our right from my childhood, our dining table discussions used to be about business and sports and nothing beyond that. And of course, there was a lot of Rotary through which we did a lot of social activities, social causes, and he was very passionate about that. And I think that continuous, those thoughts which keep going in a child's mind, I think that is where the entire grooming starts, and that's where I got my passion, and that's where I got my interest in sports. I think, as I said initially, sports is something which unites the population, and for us, it is, you know, having that sporting commitment towards society gives us, you can say in parlance, common parlance, it gives a high. So that is something which sports is something through which you can give back to society in a big way. I think that is, and today, I think over the last maybe 10 years, the focus at the national level towards sports, and you have seen that dramatic change in the way we as a country have been performing in international events, be it Asian Games or be it even in the Olympics, how we have drastically increased our medal tally. I think there's a lot of focus on sports. There's a lot of interest nationally in among children, among young teens and athletes in sports, and it gives us a lot of satisfaction, a lot of happiness that we can contribute in whichever way we can to sports. And the fire in the eyes of an athlete or a sports person when he or she is performing on the ground, and when we as a group, when we are participating in events and we see that, and we see the kind of sporting culture is developing in our state, as well as in the when we have athletes coming from outside and participating in our teams, I think that gives us a lot of satisfaction. And as far as taking time, I think you always have time for something you love. I think that comes automatically, and you don't have to make time for it. So as Srinivas has said, I think that's just a passion, and he has, and we have, and I think it is just like giving back to the state, giving back to society and to the country, and hopefully in the future when one of our Goan sports persons represents India at, at very high level and win laurels for the country, we can be happy that somewhere in the corner of Goa, we both are happy that we in a small way contributed to that, and that will give us a lot of satisfaction.
Well said. But I don't mean to be a wet blanket, but even Ayon mentioned it. We are doing very well in athletics, 100 medals in Asian Games, etc. But Goa's heart beats for football. We are talking on a day when we have lost 3-0 to Uzbekistan in the Asian Cup. And so, like I said, I don't want to be a wet blanket, but what is your outlook for Indian football at the international level? Do you think it's progressing? Do you think it's got a great future? Do you think there's still time before we can be considered a serious footballing nation?
See, as far as defeat is concerned, I think one thing in sports is nothing teaches you more in sports than a defeat. Victory, everybody enjoys, but when you lose a particular game, I think you introspect, each player introspects, the support staff introspects, and we come out stronger. So I think, to be frank, we should not read too much into a defeat. I think let us look at it as a stepping stone, and we climb the ladder of success by the initial losses. But I think if you look at football or soccer in India, I think a lot needs to be done at the grassroots level still. It is not the question of having very glamorous events or having very huge events where we have a lot of international players coming and playing. That doesn't work that well up to beyond a certain point for the local populace to improve their talent and skills. Yes, you have some foreign support staff coming in. It may broaden your perspective. It may help you in certain aspects. But at the same time, the more the society as such invests in developing grassroots level talent. And when I say grassroots level talent, I am not saying specifically or only that you should have academies to train the sports. Once again, I'm coming to the aspect of having the support system training as well. Because sports, as far as I have experienced it, sports is 99% mind. And I would just rate it as 1% talent. Person can be supremely talented, but if that person doesn't have the temperament to withstand the pressure on the ground, it doesn't have the support system to help him or her in their low points in their career, they will never be successful. So when Sachin Tendulkar has become the Sachin Tendulkar because of his mind, of course he had mind-boggling talent, that is beyond doubt, but so had so many others. During his era, there so had so many others. But there was only one Sachin Tendulkar. Because he had the mind and he had the willpower and he had that strong belief to do certain things. A case in point, maybe he just refused to play a cover drive for 3 hours. I mean, that kind of mental makeup, and that has not come to him automatically. That has probably been imbibed by the coach that he reveres so much, by his parents whom he reveres so much. That is where, or his brother for that matter, who has been with him, his support system, he acknowledges that publicly. So, case in point. So, I mean, that is something which the associations, especially in Goa, will have to look into. Developing the support system for the players in terms of coaches, in terms of their, as I said, recuperation and their post-match, how they recover, in terms of the mental aspects, the mental coaching, their support, as well as on the ground, the allied services like the refereeing, the umpiring, because one wrong decision of an umpire or a referee on a football ground can spoil a person's career, because that person may be knocked out he can suffer a very severe fractures, or he may get dismissed on a 0, and that can destroy that person mentally, that athlete mentally. So these things have to be looked into, and I think once those things are taken care of, there is nothing stopping, India as a nation being a very, very strong sporting nation in the future.
Mr. Dempo, let me put you on the spot. Tell me, when will India qualify for the World Cup finals and play an Argentina or play a Brazil in a World Cup final? Give me a timeline.
So I remember and I was there live when the ex-FIFA president came to India. And Mr. Patel, who was president of AIFF, was sitting next to him. And he coined a famous phrase for India. He said, India is a sleeping giant. So it's a giant, everybody recognizes it, but it's still sleeping. And I would answer your question only in one sentence. It's lack of passion. In this country, it's 99% cricket and 1% all the other sports. So football comes somewhere in that 1%. It's not a religion in India and neither in Goa. Because when 3 clubs in Goa decided to shut shop, that was Salgaonkar, Dempo and Sporting out of I-League, nobody cried. Nobody cried. Nobody called us. Nobody came to us. Why are you closing? This is my club. Don't close. This shows absolute lack of passion. And it all boils down to how kids, who are young kids, we don't have sports in our curriculum. I know it's there. Many people will say it's there. But it's just a checklist. You go and see kids play in Brazil football. And you see the kind of passion, as Sagar says, the passion at which they play. I don't think any kid in Goa plays that. Today, when we have qualified for the 2nd division of I-League, at 1/3 the salary, Manipur boys are calling me and say, sir, please take me in this team. And they work 10 times harder than the Goan boys. So, I'm just saying that, when you look at the country as a whole, unless we do this as a religion, and if somebody at the head decides that India wants to be in the World Cup by so-and-so date, it will never happen. So we need to be extremely serious if we want to get this sport up. And I think, Rahul Chandavarkar asked a very valid question. He says, who will take the blame, whether it's GFA or GFDC or whoever it is? I mean, I'm not blaming only the sport associations. The entire ecosystem has to work on a vision, along with the government, along with private sector players like us, and say that and for that, as he says, grassroots development, international coaching, we don't have those kind of coaches. So unless we spend serious money on this, one Mr. Dempo spending 20 crores in academy won't take you to the World Cup. So we need much more investment. We need serious investment. We need policies. We need focus on sports in our education curriculum. And I think there you'll see India, because we are such a huge population. All we need is training, training, training. And, we can go up from there.
Fantastic views. And I think both these gentlemen, the passion came through. I don't know if it came through for all of you all sitting in the audience. Definitely sitting here between both of them, I could feel the passion that they feel for sports. Before we wind up, normally we ask audience to ask questions. I decided to turn it around a little. I decided I will ask them some questions because both of them claimed they're very passionate about sports. So I decided to test their knowledge on sports. So let's ask them some quiz questions on sports and find out how much they know about sports. I'm coming to that. So first of all, anybody can answer. Mr. Dempo, you want to have a shot at this? In 2016 World Cup final, Mr. Zidane headbutted an Italian footballer. What was his name?
I was there for that game. I watched it live. So it was Marco Materazzi.
Marco Materazzi. It's a round of applause, guys. I mean, that's like a tough quiz question. How many of you all remember Materazzi? Mr. Salgaonkar, who was the first batsman in the history to be ever given out by a third umpire?
God.
Take a wild guess.
I will just say the name that comes first to the mind in India, Sachin Tendulkar.
It is Sachin Tendulkar. in the 1992 World Cup, in the 1992 series against South Africa, it was Sachin who actually was the first batsman ever to be given out by a third umpire. Each of you can answer this. When was the last time India won a gold medal in Olympic men's hockey? And who was the captain at that time?
Pass that one.
Audience, anybody wants to get a shot at when was the last time we won an Olympic gold? In which year? And who was the captain? Anybody? You can raise your hands.
1980.
1980 is correct. Rajinder Singh was not the captain. Vasudevan, correct. It was Vasudevan Bhaskaran who was the captain in 1980. But I think the gentleman there deserves a prize for the 1980 answer. And quickly, Leander Paes partnered with a 46-year-old tennis legend to win the 2003 Wimbledon mixed doubles. Who was his partner?
I'll get that. Navratilova. I know that one.
Okay, not bad.
I know that one.
Yeah. He told me he knows a lot about women's tennis, incidentally, before we started the show. And my last question, what was the distance, anyone, what is the distance that Neeraj Chopra threw to win the gold at the recently concluded Asian Games?
Should be 90 plus, attempting, I think it was 90 plus meters.
90 plus, okay. I'll give you half a bar of chocolate, but wait. Anybody in the audience with the accurate answer? Anybody knows the answer? Just put up your hand. Close. Half a bar of chocolate, half. You're getting there. 88.8 meters. Our moderator of the earlier who cheated and saw my question gets a chocolate bar. Yes. Okay, we have time for a couple of questions. Lady on the was very passionate, shot up her hand and said she wants to ask a question. So can we give the mic to the lady, please?
Me? Sir,
To the lady.
Yeah, thank you, sir. This question is for this gentleman on the stage. Corporates often patronize popular sports like football and cricket, neglecting sports for other sports in the region like Goa. Diversifying sports sponsorship and investment to include a broader range of sports could enhance overall sporting development, providing opportunities for athletes in overlooked disciplines. Request encouraging corporates' involvement in diverse sports can contribute to more balanced and inclusive sports culture in the region. Can you help?
I'll take that. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, as in our group, we're not only focused on cricket and football. We've sponsored a lot of kids as our brand ambassadors in chess. We've had the Grandmaster Luke Mendonça, who became one of the youngest Grandmasters, and now he's vying for the Super GM. We've done also in terms of women's sports for badminton. Anura, we've been sponsoring. So it's not only that we are looking at certain sports, we are looking at developing the entire culture of sports and trying to help different associations in terms of helping them develop the culture of sports in Goa. I think it's very important to realize that as Srinivas has already pointed out, I think we as a state of Goa need to be more passionate about sports and actually take sports very seriously if we have to develop that level. Let me give you a certain perspective. When we were sponsoring a lot of brand ambassadors in chess, we used to take the kid under our fold, say when he or she was maybe around say 5 years or 6 years, and developing, starting to play the sports. At that time, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and parents want to come, and they want to develop the sports, and yes, everybody is very gung ho at that point in time. let us, cut the chase to say 10 years ahead, when the same child now is around 15, 16 years of age. He just drops the sports. We have seen that suddenly at that point in time, there is a focus on, say, other aspects. Say they want to get some degree, or they want to get some, they want to go into education, focus more on education. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But you have, as a society, you need to, you cannot be on two boats at the same time. If you want in sports, if you want your child to reach a certain level, then a choice has to be made very early. It is unfair it is basically, I would put it point blank, it's unfair to take a certain level of help from corporates to a certain level and then drop the sports altogether. What is a corporate going to do in that, when it comes to that? It is a responsibility of the parent, basically, to ensure that the child does carry on that sports to a certain level and achieves it. Few people like Luke who have done it have achieved great success. He is now vying to be, as I said, he's going to be a super GM. But there have been so many brand ambassadors, to our disappointment, when we have actually supported the entire the child and the entire support system, but they just drop it. So it is fine to expect, to say that you expect corporates to, support other sports, but it has to be a two-way traffic. There has to be an equal commitment from the society to invest time, money, hard work in that sports, and then make it a joint partnership to make sure that the child or the athlete reaches the pinnacle of the sporting achievement.
I'm just going to...
Fair point, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
The way Geno Group is doing, we also have a Goodwill Ambassador scheme. And it extends from not only football and cricket, but it goes to badminton, table tennis, swimming, chess. For example, Bhakti Kulkarni, who you must have heard of, was our Goodwill Ambassador for almost a decade. We held her hand for almost a decade. Currently, we have two. One is I forget his name, one is a 12-year-old boy in the field of badminton, and one is a 10 or 9-year-old boy in the field of table tennis. So we've been doing this for the last more than a decade. And I have exactly the same experiences like what Sagar says, that when corporates devote so much of time, money and passion, and I'm not saying all, but some of them do give up sports, saying that, now they have to get to education. So, and the third thing is, we own the franchise for UTT in table tennis, which won the national title last year, which is known by the name of Goa Challengers. So we support a whole lot of sports other than just football and cricket.
Why not Taekwondo? I mean, I'm Angela Diabrio Naik from Taekwondo. I'm an international gold medalist and the first inductee in Taekwondo Hall of Fame and the first grandmaster in India holding the 8th-degree black belt. So Taekwondo is Olympic sports, but we do not have funding from the corporates.
We'll take this offline because, individual sports, both of them I think have been fair in saying that they have supported not only cricket, football, and they have explained that they have supported many sports. Specific sports, I think we should take it.
We are, as corporates, we are open for that. You have a good proposal, why not?
Yeah. Okay. We have time for one last question only.
Any sports for that matter. You have a good proposal, why not? We are there for you.
We have time for one last question. Okay. Yeah, there's one question there at the back. This is the last question.
Hello, sir. I've been lucky enough to know Sagar sir personally, and my family knows Baba Depo sir here. As I'll just forward the question from what ma'am asked. A lot of sports, cricket and football again is one of the main sports, which, there are other sports like my brother plays squash and all, and I feel very bad that he left India and had to go abroad for studies and, further exposure in sports and all. As ma'am said, there are other sports and all. And I feel the problem, everyone is saying, why are you not supporting my sport? Why are you not supporting my sport? The government is saying we are doing so much. The corporates are saying we are doing so much. but there's not everything, the corporate can do. So I feel in the future, sport is going to be a big thing when it comes to India's economy and India's growth and everything. I mean, we are also bidding, there's a chance we might bid for the Olympics with Saudi and all of that. So my question is for both of y'all, how do you see this, growth which can move on towards Goa? Because I know Sir Baba Depo has, the Serendipity Arts Festival and all of that, where, students are showing interest, enthusiasm and all of that. But again, there are so many sports. So how do you think, the corporate, the government can come together and promote all these sports at once? I know it's a big task and it's going to be a very hectic thing because there are a lot of small sports and all of that. So what do you think the future is when you come to all these sports at once? Not just cricket, football, badminton, tennis, nothing like that. All sports at once. And how do you see Goa will be a, play a big role in all of this?
An idealistic, passionate youngster. Yeah? Asking you, how will you promote all sports and bring it all together to Goa? Or, support all sports, let's say, not promote.
I have a little bit of a different opinion here, and, I'm not saying what he says is wrong. You can't do everything. I'm not into pharmaceuticals like Sagar is. So, we have to choose what Goa is best at. And we have to draw a map saying that historically what is our strength, how do we focus on, not to say that other sports should not be promoted, they should be by all means. Everybody should. But the focus should be on 1, 2, 3 sports. Because otherwise, like for example, Brazil focuses on football and that's why where they are. But if you focus on everything, even you must have heard of OGQ, Olympic Gold Quest. They focus on only 4 to 5 areas of Olympics and they've got results. But if you ask them to do 100 things, it becomes very difficult. This is my personal opinion, but I'm subject to,
No, fair. I think we have overshot our time and my editor is glaring at me from there. So,
by the way, I like that clock. It's the first time I'm seeing it and I really appreciate it.
thank you. Amazing. I enjoyed this discussion. I'm sure so did you. Passion came through very clearly. And here you have two corporates, I think, who have done their fair share. I would say more than their fair share to support sports in Goa and in the country. They deserve a huge round of applause.
Well, absolutely. That was an intriguing session right there. A lot of discussions. Thank you so much, gentlemen. But now I request Suresh sir to kindly hand over the mementos that we have. Can we quickly give another round of applause for the gentlemen? Thank you so much, gentlemen. Well, it has been a morning of conversations around sports that's given us quite a bit to think about. Why not do it over a hearty meal? It's time for us to take that lunch break. An eclectic spread awaits all of you. We will convene again in an hour to keep the conversation going. Once again, here's a small reminder to take these insights to our network on social media. Share your takeaways from this event with the hashtag Sportstar Conclave. Like I mentioned, we shall see you all in an hour's time. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.